It's good with me. This is my first time here. I did read Seth when I was 18, so I have some understanding. My family...
Dragged you here kicking and screaming? What?
No. My family was part of this for years, and off the track, on the track. My question is about being what I consider the tip of the tool of creation, and whether or not that would be an accurate portrayal of a physical reality.
Pretty good one, actually. The tip of the, in other words, in your analogy, you're calling the eternal you the creator, and this environment as being an enhancement to that creator. And so here you are on the leading edge. We can see how it works.
Okay. And when I go to what you would call the vortex, which is a very confusing word for me because I have an image of a vortex and it's a void. And so I'm like, that's not the right thing. So,
well, that's because you've never been in a black hole.
You've already told me I wouldn't survive, so I wouldn't want to try that. But the idea behind it to me is that there is this essential, joyous moment in which I know I'm a creator, but I have no idea what I'm creating. And that my job or my role in this environment is, as I said, the tip of the tool of creation, is simply to imagine the next thing or have the next thing be imagined and do it, whatever it doing is.
Here's the thing. Everything that is manifested was at one time a vibrational reality. In other words, it's just the laws of the physics of the universe, that there is thought, and then there becomes thought form, and then there becomes manifestation. And we could talk a long time about that. A sort of short version of it is that everything that you perceive in your physical reality is a perception, that it becomes reality because you perceive it that way. And as you come together as billions of people over lots of generations, and you focus similarly, you come to a lot of similar conclusions, which gives you a sort of stable platform that you are manifesting from, a sort of bouncing off place. So what you see with your eyes is a vibrational interpretation, and what you hear with your ears is a vibrational interpretation. It's all about vibration that you're turning into reality by your ability to translate vibration. So if you sort of grasp the idea that the stuff that you see that you call reality is perceptual reality, then it's easier to understand that there is a predecessor to that reality, which we are calling a vibrational reality. It's the reality that comes into vibrational beingness and exists in a stable environment until a perceiver approaches it with his ability to perceive and perceives it into reality. Now, that's the best we've ever said that. In other words, so taking the perspective that you were presenting to us, if you're the tool, if you're the tip of that tool, then that means you're here as an extension of that source, and you are perceiving reality, and as you're sifting and sorting, you're asking for more. The non-physical part of you is with that vibrational reality, and it's coming into stronger and stronger and clearer focus, to the point that if you will allow it, meaning if you trust the process, and if you're living somewhat happily ever after, and if you're not too pinched off from the energy that is your source, this vortex will, in your non-resistance, take you in. So now you're swirling in this vibrational reality, which to a human just feels like an emotional state of being. You feel happy, you feel clear-minded, you feel loved, you feel well-being. Not anything that you can tangibly put your finger on. It's an emotional basis that you're feeling. But if you are willing to consistently hang around in that vibrational frequency until you are really tuned to it, to the point that you see, the reason that you see with your eyes is because your eyes cellularly know how to interpret energy. The reason that you smell with your nose is because your nose knows how to interpret the energy. So now we're suggesting that you get into this vortex through an emotional journey. So you're in the vortex, and if you stay long enough, the vortex will teach you to perceive reality from inside the vortex, just like your physical senses have taught you to see vibrational reality here in this physical environment. Does that make sense to you? We went to a new place with that. So as you follow that, here you are, first time here, taking us to an entirely new place, because the skew in your vantage point shined another light on this whole process of creating. So in general terms, what we just said to you, the vortex, of course, it must just seem crazy to anybody sitting in for the first time, because it's not a place, it's not even a state of being. It's a conceptual understanding about the vibrational predecessor to all that is manifestation. And here in this gathering, we've been really specifically explaining to you that if you take the concept of the vibrational reality as compared to the manifested reality, if you take the concept of the vibrational reality on faith as something that exists, and you're willing to feel your way in just because it feels good, and you're willing to hover around in there a little bit by feeling good more than feeling bad, and by looking for reasons to appreciate rather than complain, and so forth. As you tune yourself to the frequency of this vortex, what you're actually doing is tuning yourself to the frequency of the most expanded version of you, tuning yourself to the frequency of all of the cooperative components that law of attraction has already vibrationally gathered. In other words, the world that you have been creating exists in real time, but in vibrational form. And it's your job to translate the vibrational form into the manifested form. But you got to hang around in the vortex long enough for the frequency of your being to raise to the level that makes it possible to do that. And the first sign is you feel pretty good. The second sign is you start feeling impulses. Impulse to go here, to go there, to speed up, to slow down. Impulse to read that or read that. In other words, impulses, it's like an interest that keeps calling you. Then the next thing that happens is you start rendezvousing with ideas, clear-minded ideas. You end up in gatherings like this, where we're talking about this kind of stuff in a concrete and logical, easy to follow if you listen hard enough way. And then before you know it, and what's beginning to happen with a lot of people who have been consciously being deliberate creators for a while, is you get to actually be the witness to manifestations that seem to just come out of the blue. But they actually are not coming out of the blue. They're coming out of the vibrational stability that you reached for and then mastered, you see.
I think I got what you're talking about.
So Seth said, you create your own reality, and we just explained a little more clearly how that is so.
Yeah. So it's more of a projection than a carving. I project the reality that I become in tune with, that then is manifested as a projection back through my perception.
That's accurate too, because do you dream? And a dream certainly feels like a projection, doesn't it? And a dream is the same sort of, what you think and feel and what manifests always match. What you think and feel and dream always match. In other words, your dreams are sort of interim realities that you're creating.
Okay.
And the word projection is easier to hear relative to that than relative to the other, but it fits in either case.
Okay. Thank you.
You could have had a grandmother who just taught you to feel good as much as you could, and you would be in exactly the same creative position that you may be after listening to us for a few years, as we keep giving you another analogy and another analogy and another analogy. In other words, if you heard nothing from us, if you didn't know anything about us, still you came from source, still only a part of you is here, still you're sifting and sorting, still you're sending off rockets, and in your appreciation you'd line up with them, and in your lining up with them you'd see them. You see, we just prefer to make it more complicated, to make it worth the $195 you spent.